Hi, welcome to the channel. This is Beyond Authentic Health and Beauty, where we are documenting our slimming world journey and beyond. My name's Lisa and I have bladder cancer. What a cold opener, eh? What a cold opener. What a way to open a video. So yes, as I'm filming this, it is Wednesday evening on the 2nd of March 2022, and I have been to a clinic today for a cystoscopy, which is a camera into the urethra, into the bladder, and it's been discovered that I have bladder cancer. Now, to be honest, it's something that I was expecting. So for the last 9 months, maybe a little bit more, I have been peeing out blood clots, and not every day, but enough. It started off maybe, once a week, once every 10 days. And then it's progressed. Now it's about every other day, or at least one day in 3. And some of them have been really big and noticeable. Some of them I've just kind of felt as I've had a wee. And yeah, so anyway, we didn't go to the doctors about that, actually. I went to the doctor because I had quite a bad case of thrush, and I wanted to get it checked over and make sure that everything was okay. And so they sent me to the urologist to have a look at that. And it was only while I was there that the consultant said, is there anything else, any other concerns? And I said, well, I've been peeing out some blood clots. I said, which I'm sure isn't sort of normal. And yeah, that's the journey we've been on since then. So it's a really weird feeling. So as of filming this right now, Rufus doesn't know. I've only told 2 people because I had to have a conversation about it, because I had to just say the words out loud. And I've made the decision not to tell Rufus until he's back on Friday, because he's actually currently in Essex helping family out, and basically caring for his parents, and helping his dad recover from a car accident. So it's been a really, really difficult, as you can imagine, a difficult start to 2022, with all of this going on in the background. So I've decided not to tell him until Friday, because he's back on Friday anyway. And if I tell him today, if I'd told him this afternoon, he'd have been in the car and he'd be with me now, which would be great, but there's nothing that either of us can do immediately. So yeah, currently I'm telling you before I'm telling him. I mean, obviously it won't be when this goes up, but so why am I making this video then? Well, so much of my life is about being authentic, and living authentically. And I've already done a live stream where I've talked about my weight loss or lack of this week. I did go to Slimming World today, and I did actually weigh in at 6 pounds heavier. Now, I think that's because I've been told by the clinic today that I have to drink a lot of liquid over the next 48 hours. So I've probably drunk maybe 4 litres of fluid over the course of today, and I'm actually going to have another can of pop before I actually head off to bed, because if I drink any more water or soup or coffee, I think I'm going to go mad, because I've had so much to drink today. So yes, my stomach feels incredibly bloated. I literally am walking around like I've got a beach ball under my top, and I am peeing for England right now. I know, right? You don't need to know all that, but it's probably why I've come in with such a massive weight gain. But, if that's what it is, we'll get it off next week. It's fine. I'm not really worried about that at the moment. But I did a live stream this evening after my weigh-in, and obviously couldn't say anything. And I'm about to do a live stream in the morning, coffee and makeup, and I can't say anything. And I've always said I live and die on the sword of authenticity, and at the moment it feels a little bit inauthentic. But I hope that everybody watching this will forgive me for keeping this to myself until Rufus knows and we've managed to get our heads around it. But I wanted to document it because I think my reaction today is probably atypical, which, is par for the course for me, because I'm not the most neurotypical person in the world. But I'm kind of in a way, I'm kind of relieved. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not relieved that I've got cancer, but I'm relieved to know what's happening, because now I can process it and deal with it. And to be honest, in the last couple of months, I've pretty much whittled it down to the fact that this was bladder cancer. I had two options, really: bladder cancer or prostate cancer. The reason for that is because of the blood clots and a little bit of pink pee when I've been urinating. So, yeah, it's something where I haven't got any other symptoms of an infection, a kidney infection or a water infection, a bladder infection. And as I've gone through the list of symptoms, it's like, right, yeah, it's probably that. So because I've done that, and because I've, because I'm quite a pragmatist, I don't tend to, like, the initial reaction tends to be quite intense, and then it's like, right, roll up your sleeves and get on with it. Because, as I was saying to a friend of mine this evening, like, my nan beat cancer. She had a colostomy, she had bowel cancer. My mum beat cancer. She had a hysterectomy, a tumour in the brain, and she also had skin cancer, and none of that beat her. My aunts have had cancer, they passed away, and my grandfather passed away. So, there's a lot of cancer in my family. We are very, very prone. So it was only a matter of time, really, before it affected me. And, of all the different types of cancer that it's possible to have, I guess for me, bladder cancer is one of the lesser ones. It's one of the ones it's got a good chance of survival, and all of that. So anyway, we'll come on to that in a second. So today I went for a cystoscopy, and that basically involves turning up at a clinic, being given a pair of paper shorts, which were lovely, and being told to go and take off my lower half and just to put the paper shorts on. And they had a massive slit down the front. It was really odd. So kind of like folding the paper over itself, trying to make sure that I wasn't flashing the bits that I do currently have. Which is also another complication, because as a trans woman, it's like, yes, I turn up with my makeup on and my hair and everything done, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way. So then I get taken into a room and I kind of go through my medical history, and go through my medications and that. And then I'm shown into this other room, where there's a small team. There were 4 people in the room, and you sit on a bed and you lie back, and then this nurse just basically grabs your bits, puts a weird thing. It felt like cold water being pushed into my pee hole, which was a numbing agent, and then in goes the camera. And that was really, like, I was getting really in my head about having the bits that I've currently got. So I'm lying back on the table and I'm like closing my eyes and I'm going, yep, everything's fine. La, la, la. Oh, I felt that. And one of the nurses was like, go to your happy place. And I was like, oh yeah, I could do. So I'm going to go to that. And then I could hear the consultant talking and obviously like giving his instructions to the nurse with the tubey thing. And he was like, okay, yep, look, there, you can see there quite clearly, that's confirmed. And I was like, oh, what's that? So then I was watching on the monitor, which was fascinating. Seeing inside your own bladder and seeing actually what the cancer cells look like, and the cancer, not just cells, but seeing what the cancer looks like was fascinating. You know, in Finding Nemo, the sort of sea urchin-y coral thing that Nemo lives in, if you imagine that, but sort of vaguely skin coloured, but a little bit yellowy, sort of like the colour of sort of almost bile. It's really weird. So you imagine that, but then it being underwater, so it's kind of waving and undulating, like in Nemo, sort of mixed with some weird Star Trek alien. That's the only way I can describe it. So then I was watching them, poke the camera around and have a look around the bladder, and there's a fair bit of it. To be honest, there is a fair bit of it. He said some bits were 3 centimetres, so apparently that's a bad thing. So yeah, that's something we need to get dealt with. But it was absolutely fascinating. And as they're on the monitor, I could see 2 blood clots, one fairly small, but one massive blood clot. And I was like, oh, go back a second. What's that bit there? And he said, oh, no, that's the blood clot. I said, so that's what's been causing, so bits of break away from that are then kind of, that's what I'm peeing out. And he said, yeah. I said, so what would cause the blood clot? He said, oh, it'll be because of the cancer. because of the way it's growing, it's kind of, you know, nicked a blood vessel or something and it's causing it to clot. I said, okay, all right, fair enough. So I was actually really interested in what was on the monitor, because it was fascinating. How many times in life do you get to see inside your bladder and get to see the cancer growing? You know what I mean? How many times is that likely to happen? Hopefully not very much, let's be honest, and I hope none of you have to go through that. I really do. It sucks. But the way that I handle these things is by taking a pragmatic approach. It's like, right, okay, that's what's going on. Let's move on to the step where we start tackling it then. What do we need to do to tackle that? Which I don't think they were quite expecting, but I was like, right, okay, so that is definitely cancer. And he's like, yeah, that is, and we need to get you in, and we'll have a removal done. So they have scheduled me a surgery. I haven't got a date for it yet. That's going to be sent to me as an urgent case. And yeah, so we're going to go in for I can't remember what it's called. I want to say TMNT, but that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's something like a TRBT. I'll put it on screen. And basically what that involves is a camera again going in with like a loop of wire, and that loop of wire has like an electric current running through it. So this is going to be really interesting. Again, unfortunately, I'm going to be unconscious for this bit, but I would love to see whether, as that's burning away, basically they put that in, and then like the metal bit burns away the cancer from the bladder of the lining of the bladder. So that would be thoroughly interesting to see whether it glows and whether it lights up and whether there's smoke and all of those things, because obviously it'll be done in liquid in your bladder. So that's going to be fascinating. But obviously I'm going to be unconscious for that. It's done as a general anaesthetic. So the survival rates really depend on the stage and grade of the cancer. So there's CIS, which is cancer in situ, or TIS, tumour in situ. There's T1, TA and T1, and then they're going into higher numbers. What that basically means is that depending on the grade will depend on how much treatment I need on top of the scraping. So if it is a deeper grade, which means it's grown deeper into the tissues of the bladder, then they're going to have to use some cancer fighting drugs and flood my system with that, or flood my bladder with that. If then, once that's dealt with, if it's a higher grade, then it might be chemotherapy or even radiotherapy, depending on what they find. And we're not going to know that until, you know, I'm on the table having treatment done. So yeah, that's a bit of a bugger, really. The chances of survival are very high for bladder cancer. Most people survive. In the lower grades, the superficial cancers, it's very likely that it's going to come back, 50 to 70% likelihood. So it's probably, this is going to be an ongoing journey for a while. And if it is the lower grade, then basically I will have to go for a cystoscopy again about every 3 months. And then it will go to every 6 months after a couple of years, and then possibly follow up cystoscopies for up to 10 years. If it's a higher grade and I need a more invasive treatment, then obviously the survival rate comes down a little bit. But even then, like, the odds are in my favour. This isn't something where, you know, I'm not catastrophizing and I'm not dismissing it either. I'm facing the reality. So yeah, so the reality is that if it is a higher grade, then, you know, it will need treating a bit more aggressively. If it's grown into the surrounding tissue, not just into the muscle of the bladder itself, then that's when, you know, that gets a lot more difficult to treat and a lot more risky long term. Because I've always said, if you are going to get cancer any time in history, this is the best time to get it, because the treatments now have evolved to such a sophisticated level that, you know, when my mum and my nan were facing this, it was very much like, oh, chop everything out and then, you know, you've got a void where an organ used to be. But these days it's far less invasive than that. They really try to minimize the amount of damage done to the body so that you can heal and you can recover. And so, yeah, I am going to recover from this. That's neither here nor there. The universe ain't done with me yet, I'm telling you. And if cancer thinks that I am going to succumb to it the first time round properly, rather than the sort of skin cancer scare that we had a few years back, if it thinks that I'm going to take this shit lying down, it's got another thing coming. It really doesn't know me at all. So yes, I'm going to document it, because I think for all of you kind of who might be having some odd symptoms, and for all of you who might just be dealing with issues and health issues in your own life, you know, I don't want to come across as like this is the only way to deal with things. I know that for some people, just hearing the words, it feels like the world has fallen out from underneath you. And there was a little bit of that, because as much as I had prepared for, you know, oh yes, it's cancer, I was also incredibly hopeful that they'd say, oh, it's an infection. And I'd be like, oh, guess what, Rufus, you were right. So yes, there we go. Probably not the news that you were expecting to hear from me. Totally not clickbait or anything like that. But I am going to be bringing you with me on this journey, and I am going to document it as much as I possibly can. Don't worry, everybody. This channel is not going to turn into a cancer channel, right? I'm still going to be doing my makeup looks. I'm still going to be doing my reviews. We're still going to be doing Slimming World content, all of that. So don't worry. This is not going to be a Debbie Downer channel. But anyway, I just wanted to sit down and film this, and to basically say, look, I'm okay. Everything is grand. Like, yeah, I wish I wasn't in this situation, but here I am. So we're going to deal with it. And I will probably make some content on the Witchy channel about this, because, you know, well, let's discuss this with the tarot cards and see what's happening. And I will certainly be bringing all of the witchy elements to bear on the cancer. The cancer can go fuck itself, because the cancer had better be in retreat right now. I'm telling you, even before treatment, that cancer had better be in retreat. The thing is, I've seen it on the monitor. I can now visualize it. And if you can visualize something, you can tackle something. So yes, that is going to be an interesting thing that I'm going to be doing as well, probably over on the other channel. Not, again, I'm not going to do a shit ton of cancer content, because that isn't what I'm about, but I will, it will be a part of my story going forward. Do please like the video. You're not liking the fact I've got cancer, don't worry. If you like the video, hopefully I will interpret that as being you liking my approach to beating this cancer, because that's what's going to happen. I'm going to beat it. Like, no matter what happens, that's now a foregone conclusion. In the same way in my mind that it was like, oh yeah, it's probably cancer. It's likely cancer. Now in my mind, it's like, right, so when I've beaten this, what do we do? Like, how do we get to the point where I've beaten it? And that's the thing, because that's what's going to happen. I'm going to beat this. Cancer certainly ain't going to stop me, and certainly ain't going to beat me. This is going to be something that I absolutely destroy, like kick in the head, kick in the bollocks. That is what this cancer is going to get coming to it. It's taken on the wrong bitch, I can tell you. It really has, because I am not about to let this beat me. I come from a strong line of battle axes that roll up our sleeves and get the job done. And that's what I'm going to do. And if that sounds like a journey you'll be willing to watch and willing to partake in, then please do hit that subscribe button and ding the bell so that YouTube notifies you each and every time I upload a video. As I say, it's not suddenly going to be a cancer channel. Hopefully the cancer content is going to be quite minimal, because there's not going to be a lot to say. Oh, look, here's some treatment. Oh, look, I beat it. Hopefully that's kind of it. But thanks so much for watching this rather different video, really, from me. And as I always say, stay you, stay safe, stay authentic, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.